Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for attending. I'm Craig Collin from the systems team at Shure UK, and I'll be your host today. Although, as you can probably tell, I'm not currently in the Shure UK office. I'm coming to you live from my home office in Scotland. I hope everyone is well and staying busy. It's good to see things hopefully starting to open up once more. I have to admit, it felt good but strange to have made the trip down to ISE London last week, my first flight in over 15 months. I managed to have 3 attempts at the metal detector, as I hadn't done it for so long, kept forgetting the belt and things in my pockets. But yeah, I got some disapproving looks from the security team. Anyways, today's session will be moderated by my colleague Simai, who's working away in the background, making sure I stay on track and don't push any buttons that I shouldn't. As with every webinar, please feel free to ask questions via the questions section of the GoToWebinar portal. We'll try to answer them as we go, but we'll hopefully have some time at the end of the session for any that are outstanding. So with that said, let's dive straight into the content. In today's webinar, we'll be looking at these following broad headings. Firstly, we're going to take a brief chat through what Microsoft Teams is as a high-level platform. Why is it deployed? Why do we see it being deployed on a massive scale with our customers, almost indiscriminately across different industries? We're also going to look at why the collaboration with Shure is so important to the end user experience and the wider solution. We're going to look at how Microsoft Teams certifies its partner products and why that potentially plays a pivotal role to the end user decision-making process and also to the integrators who are tasked with installing the kit and the IT departments who are tasked with maintaining the kit. Then we'll look at the Microsoft Teams certified Shure solutions that we have, the products that go into those solutions, and see how they add value to the overall experience. And then finally, we'll just round up and we'll open things up to some questions, and hopefully I will have some answers. So let's get started. So, we all know Microsoft Teams. I think that's safe to say. If you're chatting with anyone from Microsoft or chatting about Microsoft Teams or looking at it online in terms of what it is, it will be described as maybe an integrated software platform. Other people describe it as a hub for promoting teamwork or an app that pulls teams together. It promotes efficient working methods. It uses things like chat windows instead of emails, more friendlier communications really. It uses channels instead of folders. It uses things like allowing real-time multi-user editing of files. We get to use things like the familiar kind of smiley faces, thumbs up, those kind of things as instant acknowledgements. It kind of generates a familiar environment to us when we're used to using other social media channels that have those features. The work area within Microsoft Teams is highly customizable. That way, again, it promotes this efficient way of working where it keeps clutter down and the productivity of the overall team up. It's cloud-based and centrally managed, so it means essentially that people can work together, they can collaborate and communicate from anywhere at any time that they wish. And I guess one of the things that makes Teams most appealing is that it's portrayed as a less formal way of communicating and collaborating, and it's almost, dare I say it, a little bit more fun. It's a bit lighthearted, but it's less official. So what I would say is, if you have fun at your work, obviously, then it doesn't feel so much like work. So you're more efficient, you're more productive, and well-being in general is in a better place. So I guess in summary, the overarching themes of Microsoft Teams is that it's a perfect place for all users and workplaces to connect wherever they are in the world, whenever they're required. It allows those teams and contributors to create as a single inclusive unit. Everybody is involved, and everybody can be involved. And yeah, it's essentially a natural way to collaborate and to communicate with the minimum of fuss, using those familiar environments without the more official ways of sending emails and things like that. So the collaboration element, that's where I feel Shure has the power to offer the most value, if you like. So if we think about collaboration for a moment, humans, people, we've been communicating, we've been collaborating for centuries in one way or another. The most efficient way of communicating or collaborating that has stood the test of time is simply talking, speaking to one another, groups, mass audiences, or on a one-to-one basis. Talking and being understood, I feel, is how we communicate and how we collaborate best. Personally, I feel that being heard and hearing is key critical to any collaboration scenario above all other aspects. If you can't hear me, if I can't be heard clearly, then my message or my thoughts or point of view doesn't have the same impact that I would want it to. And then as a result, the audience or the other people involved, we're not as engaged as we should be. So in summary, if you like, when we collaborate, every voice matters. It's a way of saying that whether we're in the room or at the other end of the conference call, everyone in that project or team matters. You've all got a reason to be there. You all need to be heard. You all need to be understood, and you have value in that wider picture. When we collaborate, we're kind of at Shure, we're on a journey as a company where we strive for perfection at every turn, and every product that Shure makes, without question, without exception, every Shure product that is made has that core value, that fundamental value at its heart. We're striving for perfection. We're trying to make that product as best it can be. And yeah, there is a system that we're going to come on to, an ecosystem that we're going to come on to just shortly, called the Microflex ecosystem. And it's really easy for me to say that the Microflex ecosystem is, a market leader in the collaboration space. Yeah, from my standpoint, it's a really nice position to be in. The Shure brand screams best in class, quality, reliable, resilient, trusted, and so on. But the Microflex ecosystem is a great front end for collaboration spaces. But how do we get that Microflex ecosystem to work with teams? Well, we need to get it certified. We need to put it into the Microsoft Teams certification process. And by doing this, we create that reassurance. If something is Microsoft Teams certified, then an integrator, an IT department, or an end user is reassured that that certification, that product solution that is certified is designed to work and will work, and it will be reliable, and they won't need to necessarily think about it. So let's look a little bit at the team certification process. Essentially, the certification process, by its name, is a way of testing and qualifying that allows Microsoft to fully evaluate and certify non-Microsoft products and solutions for use with the Teams backbone. By being Teams certified, it gives all sides of the project the reassurance that the wider installed solution will behave in a predictable and reliable manner. It ensures, provides that reassurance to people who are using the Microsoft Teams room, wherever it may be, that it's just going to work and it's going to be the best it can be. The certification process also ensures that things are fully synchronized and interoperable across different brands. So Microsoft obviously has control of its own products, but it needs to know that products that are connected to Microsoft Teams will work in a predictable and usable way, if you like. So there's kind of three main categories or three main headers that I've come up with here, that when you're using a Microsoft Teams certified solution, what we're ultimately looking to do is maximize the end user experience, make it as slick or as smooth as it possibly can be. From Shure standpoint, we're involved with the audio, obviously, so we're looking to reinforce and make sure that everyone is heard, and crucially, the people at the other end can hear those people, and vice versa. We're looking for a Teams certified solution to be seamless. As I mentioned before about the interoperability aspects, we want the non-Microsoft products, the Shure solution, the Microflex ecosystem connected to Teams. We want that to be seamlessly integrated into that environment. So we build in things like mute synchronization, so that if you mute the microphone in Teams, in the Teams instance in the call, then that will integrate with the microphones or mute buttons or different processors to change LEDs to give you that reassurance that you are muted. It will also activate the mute at the correct point in the audio signal chain. So yeah, it's just designed to give that best experience. Other things like call status we build in to this integration, whereby when you're on a call, if you're in a video call or a telephone call, the LEDs are active and they change color, according to what you've set them to be either muted or unmuted and show that status. When you're not in a call, the LEDs switch off. And again, that's just a little bit of further integration with the Microsoft platform that allows reassurance for people coming into a room that they're not in a call and there's not a call in progress that they don't know about. And then we want ultimately the people in that room, the people in this team, to focus, but crucially, we want them to focus less on the technology in the room and more on the task that they're there to do. I'd love to say that everyone in a meeting room, the reason that they come into that meeting room is to love the technology and really be an expert on what technology is in the room and love our products. The honest truth is, most people come into a meeting room for a meeting. They come into a meeting room to do a job, to have a meeting about a project or whatever. They don't really, when I say they don't care, I'm maybe being slightly harsh, but no, I'm not. They don't care about the technology. They want the technology to just work, because the technology is the thing that enables them to do their job, to have that meeting. So that's why I'm saying we want a team certified solution, a Shure solution, to allow those room users to focus less on the technology. It just works. They hear and they sound good. And in that way, they can focus more on the task at hand, which, yeah, is ultimately what they're there for. Our role in the meeting room is to make those people in the room connect with the far end. We want to create those connections. And ultimately, our goal as an audio brand is to make those connections feel effortless and sound the best they possibly can for everyone involved. So I mentioned before about the Microflex ecosystem. Is it certified? Let's look at what is certified in the ecosystem. So the reason we call it an ecosystem is that we have an end-to-end audio solution that is available. We have microphones of different shapes and sizes. We have a processor in the middle. Some microphones even have processing on board. And then at the other end, we have loudspeaker. So that means that we can create this predictable and repeatable audio chain that effectively makes everyone's life easier. And it makes room systems a lot more efficient, in my opinion. So from the microphone standpoint, we have the MXA, the Microflex Advanced 910 ceiling array microphone, which is above my head in my home office. Don't ask, yeah, I asked permission that I could install it, but yeah, that's what you're hearing me on at the moment. Hopefully I sound quite nice. We also have the MXA 710, which is over my shoulder, that shoulder on the desk we'll see just shortly. That's the linear array microphone. And then we have the MXA 310 table array microphone. Again, it's over my shoulder on the desk. You can't really see it, but yeah, we'll have a look at it later on. So those are the microphones we have that are certified by Microsoft Teams. We then have our P300 IntelliMix processor. I should mention the P300 processor is a standalone unit, and it is an audio conferencing processor. It has echo cancellation and intelligent mixing built in. If we step back to the MXA 910 and MXA 710 for a moment, they have an element of automatic mixing and echo cancellation on board as well. So there are scenarios where you can use part of the processing on the microphone and part of the processing within P300 to create larger systems, which we'll see in the little examples as we go on. So yeah, we have our P300 IntelliMix audio conferencing processor. And then finally, we have our MXN5 ceiling speaker, which is the white thing. I keep getting that wrong. The white thing on over my shoulder here. And yeah, crucially, the loudspeaker itself is a networked loudspeaker. It's got built-in amplification, and it has a little bit of processing power, whereby it can offer up per speaker patchable delay, EQ, and limiting on the output. So when you're using the MXN5 speaker or speakers, there's no amplifier rack space required in the room credenza at all. So it's worth noting as well that all of these devices are a single category Ethernet layout cable infrastructure. They are layer 3 compliant, so they are Ethernet standards based. They will connect to a network switch, and they will coexist with other network things. It's not it doesn't need to be. We're not just using Ethernet cables to connect point to point. We are using Ethernet standards, so we actively connect to standard network gigabit managed network switches. So that single category Ethernet cable carries the audio outputs from the different units over Dante. It carries the power via PoE, or in the case of the speaker, the speaker can be run on either PoE or PoE+, and it is self-regulating. So if you plug the speaker into a PoE switch, it will reduce its output very slightly so that it doesn't overdrive the power supplied by the switch itself. If it's in a PoE+ switch, then it will increase its maximum SPL slightly to allow for that extra power coming in. And then lastly, that single category cable carries all the control data for that synchronization and integration. One of the big benefits of just using standard Ethernet cable is that we keep everything in the digital domain. There are no analog cables from our products in that ecosystem. Everything is kept in the digital domain until, in the case of the P300 has analog outputs to connect to a downstream codec, but they would be balanced lines into something downstream that would be very close. So in our ecosystem, there are no hums, buzzes, clicks, or anything like that. The things that you would associate with analog cabling that can cause issues. The other thing is, because it's standard Ethernet cable, it's very cost effective to install. It's universal in the cable type. So these are the products that are Microsoft Teams certified. Let's have a quick look at some room solutions that we can offer up. So if we look at a small room first, we have our room hardware, so network switch, USB camera, TV, etc. Let's put an MXA 310 on the table, connects into the switch. Then we'll put a P300 into the mix, again, connects into the network switch. And then finally, a MXN5 speaker overhead. And that is essentially a room system that will connect into a downstream Teams instance and just work seamlessly. The mute buttons on the peripheral on the outside of the MXA 310 will synchronize with Microsoft Teams, and the LEDs will change color depending on where you're muting it as well. So nice little small room system with 0 rack space required. Medium room, same kind of room infrastructure. We've got our switch there. Let's put let's put an MXA 710 under the screen. So this is a linear array microphone on the wall under the screen, so it's nice and neat. Again, connects into the switch. Then P300 could be under the table to allow for a USB connection straight to a device. Maybe because it's a bigger room, we'll put a couple of MXN5 speakers in the roof, again, all connecting back to the switch. And then finally on the table there, you can see I've added in an MXA mute button, which allows, it's a simple networked mute device that connects to the switch, but it's actually talking to the P300 processor. So it is, again, seamlessly integrated within the Teams environment to give you mute control of mics that don't have a button on them. So the 710 and the 910 don't have buttons, but yeah, we can add in a mute button to give you that table-based control without necessarily an external control system to run it. Large room, slightly bigger setup here. So again, we've got a room system network switch. Because this is maybe bigger, you could have 1 or 2 MXA 910s, again connecting into the switch, single cable, and then we put a P300 in the mix as well. And then let's put, because we're feeling a bit flush, let's put 4 MXN5s and also a mute button to complete the system. Obviously, from a diagram standpoint, I've put them in a line to make it easier to see in 3 dimensions. You probably wouldn't mount all the peripherals in that orientation, but yeah, you get the idea that you can essentially create a relatively big boardroom system using this ecosystem that is fully Teams certified. And finally, if we look at maybe a slight curveball of training or an all hands space, so again, room kits that are installed, we have our network switch. Let's put in a couple of MXA 910s into the network switch. Then we'll maybe drop in a P300 to handle the processing of both those 910s. And then let's do 4 MXN5 loudspeakers. So again, this is the kind of thing that could be scaled up or down. Realistically, you could have 8 loudspeakers and 4 MXA 910s all connecting into the switch, being mixed by the P300, fully echo cancelled. That's actually quite a big room, but crucially, you don't need any rack real estate to house the processing or the amplifiers. You don't need a massive chunk of DSP, outboard DSP, to do your echo cancellation, because it's being done in a hybrid scenario where part of it is being done on the MXA 910 itself, and then the intelligent mixing is being done on the P300. So yeah, quite a neat solution that is very, very efficient in terms of cabling and rack space involved. So yeah, in summary, having given you this kind of brief update of what Microsoft Teams certified solutions from Shure look like, I hope that you'll agree that the Microflex ecosystem Teams certified is quite a formidable, quite a powerful partnership with Microsoft Teams. For designers, consultants, integrators, and end users, the solutions add even more value to the vast versatility of what Microsoft Teams can do. It really does, in my opinion. It allows Teams users to, as I said before, stay focused on the task in hand and really stay connected with colleagues so they can collaborate efficiently. And obviously that in turn allows the creative side of the projects to stay a high priority and very productive. At Shure, we believe that all contributors to a project or team are important. I've said it before, every voice matters. It's one of the mantras that we have at Shure. And one of our key goals in partnering with Microsoft Teams and going through the certification process is that we offer these best-in-class audio experiences. And that means that for Teams users, we can really again, those connections, we can make them the best sounding they can be, and we can make them feel effortless to the people who are using those rooms. As I say, people will love the product or love the experience, but their main focus in a room or in any given team scenario in any project is to get the job done. And as long as the tech works and does it well, that is job done. So with that, I will say thank you very much. And I am going to open it up for some questions. Hopefully you've all been listening and you have lots of questions for me. But yeah, thank you for listening. Okay, thank you very much. There were a few questions that came in as the session was running, so I've answered a couple of them. There's another one just come in, which I'll just read out. Neat solution, is it just plug and play with network cables? Is there a spec on the switch that is needed? If so, can you recommend one? Essentially, yes, it is just plug and play. All of our devices are standard Ethernet protocol enabled, so you can plug them into a standard gigabit network switch. They use Ethernet standards, so they will coexist with other things on the network as well, which is nice. But yeah, in terms of, there is no specific network spec. What we would say though, because it involves Dante and an element of clocking and audio being critical in terms of clock speeds or synchronization, we would say at a minimum a gigabit networked a managed network switch would be ideal. It doesn't need to be massively overspec'd. We in our training rigs and things like that, we use small D-Link and TP-Link units that provide PoE and PoE plus without any issue at all. So it doesn't need to be anything mega. Another question there, is there a wireless mute button? If I had £1 for every time someone had asked me that. At this point in time, the mute button is very firmly wired. It is a standard category cable that it connects with, but it is a wired unit only. So yes, annoyingly, a wireless one doesn't exist at this point in time. I'll give it a couple of minutes just to see if there's any more questions that come in, because we've got a few minutes left. If you would like more information, you'll probably receive a follow-up email through your registration email address with more links and things like that. But you can obviously check out all of the information on www.shure.com, where you can find information on the Microflex ecosystem, team certification products, and general information. There's also our tech portal as well that you can get to from the website, which contains more in-depth technical documentation that you are free to download and use as you please. I've padded a little bit, so there's another question. The MX300 is connected to Teams Room PC via USB. Yes, so the P300 processor is USB connectivity, so it has a USB cable connection on it, so it can connect into anything that's downstream, whether it's a bring your own device scenario, or whether it's an in-room PC or a dedicated Teams client of some sort. It is standard USB. It doesn't need any specific USB drivers, it just mounts as a standard audio driver. How do you connect the devices to a bring your own device PC? So yeah, that would point to in Microsoft Teams certified world, the P300 is your gateway to your PC connection. So if you have a bring your own device, a laptop that is running Teams, then you would run Teams in that laptop, and in the room that you're using, the P300, you would take the USB cable from the back of the P300 into your laptop, and it would mount and recognize as an acoustic, an echo cancelling speakerphone. So yeah, it is literally plug and play. I'm just checking to see if there's any other questions coming in. but I think we're pretty much there, but I'll give it one more last try. But yeah, as I mentioned before, feel free to reach out to your local Shure representative if you'd like more information, or you can always submit a web inquiry as well, and it will find its way to the right department. Oh, there's another one come in. So I'll just read out. So one uses a USB hub for a camera. Yes, correct. So to plug in, if your in-room PC doesn't have more than one USB port, then, or you wanted to bring it all into a single cable, then yes, you would need to use a USB hub to combine the P300 connection and your camera on USB as well. Oh, we're getting political. There's another one. Although it's team certified, will it work well with Zoom as well? The honest answer is yes. It is uniformly applicable to Zoom as well. A lot of the synchronization aspects that we talked about in terms of mute, sync, and call status also work with Zoom. Zoom have a similar certification process that they go through for products, and we actively submit our products to their testing and certification program as well. But we don't talk about that too much on this session because this is a Microsoft one. But yes, short answer is yes. So we're 1 or 2 minutes over time, so all that remains for me to say is, once again, thank you very much for attending. I hope it's been worthwhile. More information can be found on the website or via your local Shure outlet. But for now, thank you once again, and we'll hopefully see you in person very soon.